On this episode of Dragon Ball Z, we're going to do a little bit more base adjustment and then start actually trying to go towards collecting some supplies, a few pals, and expanding the map a little bit so that we can slowly start working our way towards actually being able to go check out the Terraria island. At this point, I'm kind of reevaluating my estimate. I thought, oh, surely we'll be there within an episode or two of this. Well, I'm staring down the barrel of about, 10 hours worth of game footage to edit down. So it's going to be a couple more episodes in before we get to the point of getting to the island. As a little bit of spoilers, we do get there. It just takes a minute. But I'm also on the second go-around doing the voiceover for this episode because I didn't realize that I had accidentally set my mic to recording from my webcam. Now, what I'm doing at this point is trying to figure out where the hell do I get wheat seeds so that I can get a little bit more base advancement, because I'd really like to hit the cap in terms of the number of worker pals that I can have. So, spend a little bit of time looking that up, cut out the menuing and the piles points on that, just to give you some ideas to my approach to editing these episodes. I try to cut out all the menuing, and I try to cut out a lot of this type of stuff that's showing on the screen right now, where I'm just sort of looking to make things. But I'll leave a few things in here and there just to show that I do actually do it occasionally, especially when it's something smaller like this, or if it's some sort of big advancement, I'll throw it in. And I think this is actually the first time in the game that I made megaspheres. Didn't quite occur to me yet how easy it is to be sure I have ingots as long as I just continuously set the furnace to be producing them. But first time I recorded the episode, audio sounded terrible. I was going back and listening to the first little sample of it just to be sure that it was actually okay, because I actually had this whole thing done. And it sounded like I was talking to you through a cave. So you would think I would have noticed that the audio lines just were not quite high enough. Now, this is a little bit of what we're going to be doing. Trying to go through, collect a couple pals that we haven't seen to expand our Palopedia a little bit. Because, believe it or not, that actually does help in trying to figure out where things are when you need to harvest parts. Like, electric organs become a little bit of a big deal later on. And I have an absolute terrible time trying to track them down. But realistically right now, one of the big things I'm trying to get is palladium, because one disadvantage to the base that I have set up is there's no really easy palladium fragments, and my dumbass forgets that you can actually use the rock grinder to convert stone into palladium until, I don't know, I'm pretty much finished converting my fortress to stone. Because it's started changing now. It's not done construction yet. Don't worry, we'll take a good look at it when it does get finished. But for now, we're just going to wander off and go check a couple things out. And kill as much stuff as we can find. So, let's chat a little bit about Palworld. If you're like me, the big thing that drew you into this game was the fact that it's a creature collector. So, in other words, something kind of like Pokemon. Maybe you have an interest in base building, maybe you don't. I've seen a couple people get interested in it because they actually have an interest in Fortnite. A friend of mine is similar to that path, more so than Pokemon. He liked it when he was a kid, he's not had any interest in it as an adult. I still find the game fun to play as an adult, but it's just still clearly marketed towards kids, so you have to kind of take that into account when you're playing the game, and that means the game's generally going to be really easy. Although I will say Arceus was a bit of an exception there. I think that one's actually a 10 out of 10, but I know some people don't like it. Anyway, that drew me into this game. The wonky marketing definitely helped. They had some really funny marketing. But when I actually got into it, I found that the base building is actually really fun. And to be honest with you, this game has gotten me interested in Minecraft, because I never before really cared about Minecraft. I didn't think base building was the thing that I enjoyed that much. But I've been having a lot of fun with it with this. So this is giving me a little bit of a draw to want to go back and try the OG as far as that type of game is concerned. And I've also been picking up a whole bunch of other very Pokemon-like games to test out. And what the hell is that over there? So it looks like an oil rig. I guess we'll put that on the list of things to check out later, because crossing a big body of water is not something I'm terribly interested in at the moment. Anyway, I picked up a whole bunch of creature collectors during Steam summer sale, so you guys will see a couple videos on a bunch of different games like that pop up over the next couple weeks. At this point, I have been pretty easily able to squeeze in time to get footage. Now it's just finding time to actually edit in videos. So, let's take a moment, try to get us some helm. Actually, I really wanted to capture a couple of these guys because they're good for mining early on, because that little move right there can take out a node instantly. And this is where I get a reminder that if your pals are over leveled, having one out constantly when you're trying to catch a lower level pal, it just screws you over every time. And I have to keep having that lesson taught to me over and over and over again. To be honest with you, still hasn't really set in. Still haven't fixed it. Haven't taken that necklace off. I'm going to. Alright, so what I'm doing right now, because this is a strategy I adopted after my first playthrough of Palworld, which I didn't finish it, by the way. Barely. I've already, not in this specific episode, but in this playthrough, I've already got substantially further along than I ever did my first run through of Palworld. But my first run through of Palworld was very shortly after it went into open access. Or early access, I should say. Misspeak. So I haven't really played around a lot since it's had all these updates. So I've already noticed that it feels better to play. But I was looking for the checkpoint because I know there's usually one nearby. Didn't see. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to do well here. And fatality. Damage until then. And it gave me a very firm reminder. In this game, the reason why it's not identical to Pokemon, you cannot depend on your pals just doing everything on their own. They do carry the day, but you have to take care of yourself too. And I haven't updated much of anything yet. And I'm going to continue not updating everything for just a little bit longer. Like, I've got the bare minimum on there right now. I've still got 2 weakness to fire, or is that 3? It's almost 3. Like, it's a very weak third one. And 2 weakness to ice. So, can't go to super cold areas, can't go to even mildly warm areas, to be honest with you. But we're going to start making some progress on our own character, because we know that's kind of got to happen. And unfortunately, I spend literally an hour pretty much just running around and collecting random resources until I see this guy flying around. So literally an hour later, I notice Nightwing. And I'm like, okay, I know there's something special about him. So we're going to be really careful here, and we're going to try to get us one. Which is why get rid of this guy as soon as I can. Yeah, I know Daydream, I have the thing on to get it to follow me around. Or do I have it up yet? I may not have that up yet. But there's a good reason why I'm beating this bird with a stick. If you've never played this game before, Nightwing is one of the earliest creatures that you can get that will actually have the ability for you to build a harness on it and be able to fly around. Now, is it a good flying mount? Not really. Am I going to replace it anytime soon? No, not really. But having a flying mount is better than not having a flying mount, because they enable access to a lot. The way flight works in this game, and you'll see it here in just a little bit, is it has its own sort of stamina meter. When it runs out, your mount just drops straight to the ground. Now, if you are terrified of that, because it sounds terrifying, you won't find out for a while that you don't die. You hit the ground, doesn't even take any health off. It just starts building your stamina meter back up again. The loss is that you have to climb back up in altitude. So things can be too high for you to climb up if you can't find rest points along the way. But that's not all that often. Now, the thing I need to make my saddle is some more leather. Am I going to get leather? I need to commit homicide. Now, that little jump was because I had to temporarily turn things off for a moment. Sitting here, looking at my guys going to sleep, trying to figure out what to do. Armor damaged, hungry. So let's check the repair bench, or well, check this again real quick to remind myself what I need. Need some leather still. That's also when I noticed that little odd thing on the left-hand side of the screen. Free Pal Alliance is invading the base. Huh, so my guys have already committed mass homicide. I wonder where the last one is. Because that little thing doesn't go away until all the invaders have either given up or been defeated. Oh, there he is. My compass is marking him. There's the little thing. So, let's go take care of this. That way my base can stop being invaded and everyone can go back to calmly working, ignoring everything. So we'll just hop down here, commit murder. But it's a little concerning that he actually can't hit. And I don't have any pal spheres, so I can't enslave him just yet and then sell him on the black market. Which, by the way, is one of the best things about this game. You don't have to kill the humans. You can capture the humans in a pal sphere as well. Because pal apparently is just a generic term for organism. And that's at least what I can think of for this game. Pal just means living creature. So everything's a pal. You and I are pals. Our pets are pals. Grizzly bears out in the woods are pals. And over here is just walking leather factories. So let's go seal clubbing. Yeah, no, this guy, he's the first boss a lot of people fight. Gillette, it's not that terrible once you've, well, out-leveled him. Granted, I have my game set to 10 times the level speed. And if you haven't noticed, my level's still going up pretty slow at this point. So, if you're going to play with any sort of custom settings, I'd highly recommend bumping up level speed. I did it not so much to get overpowered. I did it because I didn't want to restrict my access to the advancement trees. I didn't want to have to sit and grind to get technology points and whatnot. But Gillette, not terribly hard to beat. Even early on. You just have to dodge the attacks because they can do some pretty decent damage before you get any real armor. But he's not a bad boss. Not really complex moveset. A lot of the open world ones are not that terrible. Although, I do have one later on that takes me a minute to kill it. I don't really feel like I was ever in threat of dying for the one that comes later on. But it did take me just a second to finish working my way through. Alright. And there's my 2 leather. It's awfully convenient. But I still want to go club some mini elephants to death to try to gain a little bit more because I'm assuming they'll drop some as well. Now, assumptions really don't work super well in a game like this. Unless you have the encyclopedia memorized, it's kind of hard to remember. What does this thing drop when I kill it? What does that thing drop when I kill it? Because they all drop some sort of resource. Where he's a water monster, he drops fluids. Specifically, just regular PAL fluid. There's a high quality PAL fluid that drops from more advanced creatures later in the game, like mid tier. See, I'm at what's considered the early tier, so beginning tier, starter area stuff. The Terraria island, I believe, is not an end game island. I think it's a mid game tier island. I could be wrong on that. We'll find out, though. We'll find out when we get there. What's the fun of looking that particular thing up? I know what all the pals are supposed to be in it. I don't know the strategy for it. I haven't watched any of that for that particular thing. So I'll look up other info as needed, but I want to kind of be surprised for the Terraria one. Because I have some fun nostalgia for Terraria. See, way back in the day, cousin was trying to talk me into playing Minecraft. Because he's excellent at it. Didn't interest me that much, but I really like the look of Terraria. and it was sort of a compromise to be in between. Similar systems to Minecraft in terms of just general construction and whatnot. Obviously, in a 2D scale, yeah, people can argue with me about that all they want to, but it definitely has some inspirations from Minecraft. But it had a bit more of a point to it. And I generally don't like open world exploration games. This is the most open world, most explorative game I have ever actually enjoyed, which should tell you something about the quality of Palworld. But anyway, he and I actually did play Terraria for quite a while, and he's probably one of my oldest friends as far as playing games. There's only really two that I've played a lot of video games with. And, you know, both of them were in my wedding, if that tells you anything. And so I have a little bit of nostalgia for Terraria, because that was some good times back at the early days of college. So when I saw that they were doing a crossover with this game, I was like, okay, time to hop back in and get to it and figure out what's going on. All right. I think I started talking about the creature collector stuff earlier. That seems like a good topic to ramble on about while I run around and just murder cute things. So, the creature collector, besides this game that has actually caught my attention at the moment, is Coromon. And I know it's kind of old at this point. Man, that game is kind of fun. I've been playing it on my mobile. Oh, pause for a second. This is a decent view of what I've got constructed so far, just kind of incidentally. Actually looks pretty cool walking up on it. The house is up on the hill on the right, and that's the main base going in. So you can kind of see the facade that I'm going for. Need to do a little bit of tweaking on that entrance, so make it look a little bit better. But we do some major tweaking not terribly far down the line, and I actually let you see that whole process. So things will change, but you can see the foundations we're going for and why I picked this spot to construct with. It's a good fortified spot. It's a decent place to drop a base. You don't have to worry about invasions, and there's plenty of room to construct as long as you are willing to tinker around a little bit. So let's go try the first boss tower, and then we'll go back to talking about Coromon for a moment. So, first time I played this game, boss tower whipped my ass. I went in, she just devastated my party, and I don't think I ever really tried it again. Right now I've got the 3-shot bow, because, yet again, back when I remember playing, it was actually a pretty good little bow. It still seems to be doing pretty good. I need something that can breathe fire to help me do some cooking and do some ingot production, so I can actually start upgrading things properly. So, grab me a Fox Sparks. I like them anyway. You can see they were inspired by Eevee, and I say inspired by because clearly some of these things were inspired by Pokemon. The thing is, with any other game, people wouldn't treat that like it's bad. For some reason with Palworld, having at least a couple creatures that were inspired by Pokemon stuff really got Pokemon fans up in arms. And the only reason I can think of is because this game is actually doing what Pokemon fans have been wanting it to do for years, which is something different. The problem with the mainline Pokemon series is that it has grown super stale. It's the same formula from every game. The only thing that's new is new Pokemon. That's cool, but the games are all the same. So what do? You pick one up, you play it for a little bit, and then you don't buy another one for 2 or 3 generations. At least it was when they were turning them out. Like now they take so long in between, you might as well play them if you want to. But they're also getting really buggy now. Like this, what you're about to see, is actually a cool boss man. And I can't imagine Pokemon doing anything like this. I think it's super cool having the trainer actually ride on the giant pal's back and actively being a participant in the fight. I know with Pokemon you're never going to see anything like this, simply because they want to keep the game as family friendly as possible, so the amount of direct violence that you're going to inflict on the Pokemon is going to be pretty minimal. But having more direct trainer interaction with the fights should be kind of a cool thing. Now, granted, I don't want it to go full action like this. I do like it staying more of an RPG style, because I hate Final Fantasy VII Rebirths having taken the actual turn-based system out of the game. They're fun games, but they're not Final Fantasy in the way they feel, and neither has been 15 or 16, if I'm honest. So I don't want them to abandon the thing that actually makes Pokemon Pokemon. But they do need to innovate a little bit. They need to come up with something to make their games more interesting. Or else they're going to suffer the same fate as COD, where they're just going to grow boring to the point where they start losing a sizable chunk of their player base, which I think is the reason why they're suing this game. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. This fight, though, really cool. One of the things you really need to do in a game like this, or at least in a fight like this, that I figured out after getting my ass stomped in the other fight, try to hold off on actually engaging with the pal or the boss until your pal has actually drawn enough, in MMO terms, threat to keep its attention. So then you can just go in and DPS while your pal tanks and actually does the majority of the DPS. Like, my DPS in this fight is pathetic. I'm barely attacking up 100 HP and damage per arrow fired. Like, even with the full amount of arrows I brought, if I shot every single one of them, I would not have been able to kill him on my own without my pal. But he's still going down pretty quickly. It's a 10-minute timer. I do feel like with some gear refinements and whatnot, this could go down significantly faster. And they do both actually pop up later on with a side quest that was actually introduced in the same thing as the Terraria update. And at that moment, what I was looking for was just to go ahead and throw just a little bit of food at it to keep it focusing. Because food management is not something I'm very good at in this game. I mostly just rely on berries, but I don't have a food pouch yet, so they don't auto-feed themselves just yet. Then I decided it'd probably be better off just trying to finish the fight and then throw the food at it. Not remembering that when they're starving, it causes their HP to tick down exponentially faster. No big deal though, because the boss got defeated. Now, the way that looks like I murdered that chick and her pal. So we know that's not really the case. I'm really kind of curious what the actual in-game lore explanation is for what happens after you defeat something like that. The wild ones, you definitely kill them. The parts that you harvest off of them could not be picked up otherwise. Oh, some action going on down there. It's a syndicate base. Anyway, cool thing about beating these towers is afterwards you can come up top, look around, and especially at nighttime you can see things glowing and you can see other towers that you might need to travel to. So at this point it's just figuring out what is going to be the next goal. So let's take this opportunity to sidestep back and talk some more about other Pokemon likes. So Coromon. Got it on my cell phone. Got it on the PC. I've been mostly playing it on the cell phone, to be honest with you, because it's a relatively easy game to have propped up on your chest while you're holding a newborn that's mostly sleeping on you. Constructing our Nightwing saddle, by the way. Open up the sky. Get it to where we can actually do some fun traveling. But anyway, it definitely has the feel of an old school Pokemon game, but it's also kind of challenging. Like, the fights aren't just pushovers. You can't just power level your way to the point where you can force your way through every single fight. They will start taking advantage of the weaknesses of your main creature. So you do have to actually plan a little bit. But let's take off and go do a flight. And you should immediately be able to see the advantage to having something that can fly. Because now we can just go in a straight line to wherever we want. So even if we're not moving as fast as possible in terms of forward progress, by simply cutting out the up and down of having to climb down, find ways to traverse back up, or walk around, we're going to substantially cut down the amount of time it takes to navigate the map. Even on what is considered a relatively slow flying mount. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go see what the hell's going on in this oil rig looking thing. while we're flying over there, back to Coromon. I'd highly recommend it. It's going to be a while before I put out a video on it because one thing you do find in a lot of the creature collectors is you actually can do some shiny farming. And in that one, what I'm trying to do for the PC one is get a perfect starter. So that might take a while. It's already taken about 3 hours and I haven't gotten even close. So we'll see. That video might be a ways down the line. I'm going to have to stop playing it on the phone to motivate me to actually play it a little bit on the PC. Now, first thing I noticed was those guys seem significantly stronger than the other set that I have come in contact with. So instead of landing up there and just resoundingly getting my ass kicked, I decided let's just fool around down here a bit. And that's a reminder right there that I actually need to take the time at some point to make me a fishing rod. And there's the chick that murdered me before. So we're not going to go mess with her. What I'm doing at this point is looking around trying to find things I can go kill that I haven't yet that aren't her. Honestly, I feel like after having beat the first boss, I could probably go back to her and maybe do a little bit better this time around. Just a little bit of strategy. Or I could improve my armor and she would be just a bit easier. But we're definitely not going to go fight the oil rig for the moment. See, that's all you need. Just one little ledge where to let you rebuild your stamina back up. And then get some more life monk effigies. By the way, in case you don't keep up with updates and you played this game way back in the day, you'll remember these things were bugged. And instead of actually boosting your capture rate, they were tanking it. That has been fixed. So now they actually do definitively improve your baseline catch rate to the point where you actually do need to farm them up. And there's more in the game than you need to cap it off. Oh, that's interesting. Where's the dinosaur killer going to land? Hear the sound. And I didn't notice the little marker on the map when I was playing, or else I would have watched it hit the ground. So let's go check out the meteor. Yeah, actually, first let's take a look at some of these creatures in this new landmass that I haven't messed around with before. To be honest, when I first saw those pandas, it took a moment to realize there were leaves on top of their head. And I thought, oh, Griswold. No. I have since Googled him and found out that the only place he pops up is the Island Sanctuary. So, since we're getting close to the half-hour mark, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and land, and we're going to call it an episode. I'll see you all on the next one. Remember, if I can beat it, so can you.